Hi everybody, this is Michelle from Virtual Hand Care, and in this video I'm going to share with you my top 3 exercises to help with your wrist stiffness. All you're going to need is a highlighter or something that you can hang on to. Let's get started. So you might be experiencing wrist stiffness. Maybe you had a wrist injury, maybe you had a wrist fracture, and maybe you've just noticed some wrist stiffness over the years. Whatever the case may be, these can definitely help you. They're gentle enough and can be used by people of many different levels. Now, always make sure that if you are healing after an injury, that you always get clearance by your doctor before you start these exercises or any exercise program. Now, the reason why I wanted you to grab yourself a highlighter or something that you can hang on to is because this really helps isolate just the wrist. Oftentimes I find when people are doing wrist exercises, they're using their fingers a lot to move their wrist. And then when you go to hold something, you notice that your wrist is really stiff or it's really weak. So these exercises can definitely help with that. Okay, exercise number 1, grab your highlighter. You can use a washcloth, something, just something so that your fingers are not moving. You can prop yourself up on a pillow if you like, or you can also just, bring your arm down at your side if that's more comfortable for you. For this, I'm gonna go ahead and prop it up on the pillow so you can see this a little better. First, what I want you to do is we're just simply going to work on just moving that wrist back and forth, just within your comfort level. Don't feel like you have to move all the way down into flexion or all the way back. We're just kind of looking to move within a comfortable range first. So if this is all you have, then that's okay. Go ahead and just hang out there for a few seconds and then go ahead and go back for a few seconds. We're just kind of looking to warm up the wrist. And the key too with this is to make sure that your fingers don't try to help. You don't want that to happen. You don't need to have a death grip on the highlighter, but you just want to have those fingers curled so that you're just isolating the wrist. So you're going to go back and forth, hold a couple of seconds, and hold a couple of seconds. And you just want to do that about 3 to 5 times. Then what you want to do is you want to grab your forearm here, kind of close to the wrist, but down just a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to be kind of moving the skin and moving the tissue around to see if you can get a little bit of help with that wrist mobility. So as we go into flexion, go ahead and pull that skin and that tissue up and go into flexion. Hold a couple of seconds and then relax back down. And then same thing going back. Bring that tissue back up again and try to go back and hold a couple of seconds. And as you can see here, I'm creating some wrinkles. So I'm helping bring a little bit of that tissue. When you have some wrist stiffness, it could be that you have swelling. And when you have swelling in the wrist, you notice that the skin, the muscle, everything in there is not as pliable. It's not as mobile. And that could be why you are experiencing some stiffness. So we want to try to help that by bringing a little bit of that tissue up there and just providing some relief. Now in the opposite, if you want to test this, if you pull down in the opposite direction and then you move, it might feel a little tighter for you. So then bring the skin back up, bring that tissue back up, make some nice wrinkles, and then you might feel like you can go a little bit farther. And each of you, it might be different. Just make sure that you play around with that to see which way works for you. So let's do a couple of those together. So again, remember, you're just loosening up with this first exercise. And then what you want to do is add that skin by lifting the skin up and going into a little flexion. Hold a couple of seconds. And then back down. And then bring that skin back up. And then go into wrist extension and hold a couple of seconds. And back down. And you could just push the skin up and just kind of do a little bit of back and forth and see if that works for you as well. And you would want to repeat that about a good 10 times, a couple times a day as you need it. Okay, so exercise number 2, this one we are going to work on wrist ulnar deviation and radial deviation. Radial deviation is going towards the thumb and ulnar deviation is going towards the small finger. So again, what we're going to do for this one, you can come down with your elbow at your side for this one, or again, you can do this propped up, whichever is comfortable for you. But this is going to be a very similar exercise. So you're going to hold on to the highlighter. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go into radial deviation and ulnar deviation. And again, you only go to what feels comfortable for you. So that's side to side. So if radial deviation feels a little stiff, hold that for a couple of seconds. And then go into ulnar deviation and hold that for a couple of seconds. And it's really important to make sure that you are kind of more in a neutral position, that your forearm is not, turned and you're trying to do this way. That's why oftentimes when people kind of do ulnar and radial deviation down like this, that can be pretty uncomfortable because your forearm is rotated and then you're trying to move that wrist around. So by just kind of simply going into a more neutral position, it can be more comfortable for you. Okay, so then the next part of that second exercise, we're going to do the same thing that we did with the first one. We're going to go ahead and move that tissue up and down to see which one feels comfortable for you, to see if you feel like you might get a little more mobility in that wrist. As we go into radial deviation, we're going to go ahead and move that skin up, provide some nice wrinkles, move into radial deviation, and then relax. And then we're gonna, again, push back up, push that skin up, and then we're gonna go into ulnar deviation and hold a couple of seconds. And let's do a couple of those together. So push the skin up, radial deviation, hold a couple seconds, and relax. Push the skin up and ulnar deviation. And relax. And you could just push the skin up and just kind of do a little bit of back and forth and see if that works for you as well. And again, you would repeat that one about 10 times, a couple times a day. Okay, exercise number 3. This one is called figure eights or infinity. You can do both if you'd like. This one's going to work on all those motions together, and it's going to include a little bit of forearm rotation too. So what you're going to do is you're going to, again, hold on to the highlighter so that our fingers don't try to compensate. And what we're going to do is make little figure eights in the air with the pointy part of our highlighter. So you can do 10 rotations one direction, and then you can go into the opposite direction and do figure eights in that direction as well. And you can make very big figure eights and just kind of move all around. Then you can work on doing infinity, right? Infinity loops. And it wasn't really an infinity, now it is. So then you can do infinity loops, where you're moving that wrist and that forearm and then go in the opposite direction, which could be a little harder to do. Takes a little bit of coordination. So then you could do 5 figure eights one direction and go and do another 5 if you'd like. And then you can do 5 infinity one direction and then 5 in the other direction, whatever feels right for you. If those 3 exercises helped you, let me know how your wrist feels after you did those. If you found this video helpful, do please give it a like, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And don't forget to check out these videos here that YouTube is suggesting for you. Thanks for watching.